Who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin to such extent that you bleach to get like the white man? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet? Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to?
Welcome again to Street Talk. My name is Ahmad Shakaraki. And on Street Talk, we deal with the political, social, and economics here in Michigan, across the U.S., and abroad. Now, joining me tonight,
Dennis Burnside.
Patchett Maynard.
All right, man, we got a lot to talk about. I just want to, we passed Black History Month, and I'm one of those people who says Black History lasts 366 days, 365 days, whatever it is, a year. But I just want to talk a little bit about a couple of ladies, Sojourner Truth and Mr. Harriet Tubman. And we won't get into what they were doing and all of these, but whenever we start, those would be the first two ladies that we would talk about.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right.
Well, we've got this illegal, unconstitutional war going on in Iran. It started Saturday morning.
Right.
And at the same time, I'm calling it, I think they call it Operation Epic Fury or something. Mm-hmm. It's really Operation Epstein Diversion.
Yeah.
And it's also a war that MSB of Saudi Arabia and Netanyahu of Israel have been pining for forever. As a matter of fact, you can go back to the early 90s and hear Netanyahu say that Iran is this existential threat there. 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months from having a bomb. He did this 4 or 5 times in the 90s, 4 or 5 times in the 2000s, 4 or 5 times in the teens. Yep. Always Iran was days away from having a nuclear weapon. We can't let them have a nuclear weapon.
And they can't get it yet.
And now he's got the luxury of having a complete fool in the White House who is not only a fool, but he's compromised. Yeah. And he'll go along with this war that could bring us to the brink of a nuclear war. And at the same time this is going on, it's probably unnoticed by a lot of people. The Attorney General of New Mexico, back in 2019, a guy named Valdez, I forget his first name, he was interviewed in the New York Times, and he said that they had put together a case on this ranch that Epstein had out in New Mexico. You guys hear anything about this?
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm surprised you heard, man, because they tried to muffle it.
It on was this sold ranch recently.
It's 2019 was a case. He brought the case in 2019. And he alleged that Epstein was running a blackmail, pedophile, international money laundering, and influence peddling operation out of this ranch. And of course, this ranch featured the rape of children. You know, that's almost expected, anything that he runs along with. And the Adolf Hitler administration shut down the investigation and told him they were going to fold it into a bigger federal investigation, and they'd handle it from there. He said, "Okay, you're the feds, bet." Well, he went on to say they completely gutted his information. They gutted his investigation. If you remember, they turned it over to the Attorney General of Florida, some obscure chick. I think her name is Pam Bondi. Right?
Yeah.
And they set up this sweetheart deal where they gave Epstein a sentence of, I think it was 180 days in jail. He got evenings and weekends off. And don't you know, this man was still sending out emails, setting up these perverts with dates in Afghanistan,
yeah, but he used to
little boys and little girls, and still doing his money laundering while he's doing this sentence. Yeah. All this is going on at a time when Trump was in his first administration. And then you wonder why, after running for so long with this QAnon crap about the deep state and pedophile rings, all that. I mean, they overtly said this as a justification for him getting elected. Once he became in office, we don't know anything about that. We got bigger fish to fry. We don't want to talk about that because dummies in QAnon. Your hero, Your shit on himself hero was the one that you were looking for that was running the pedophile ring, or a big part of the pedophile ring.
Yes.
Mentioned more, now we know, more than 1 million times in all the files. Not 38,000, which is plenty. They say Trump's mentioned more in the Epstein files than Jesus is meant
In the Bible.
They say Trump is named more times in Epstein files than Harry Potter's named in all 7 volumes of Harry Potter.
Right.
But then you got people talking about. And matter of fact, I'm gonna let it go after this. I was reading the column the other day, man, in the New York Times, and one of the defenses was, well, we don't have any evidence that Trump is necessarily tied to Epstein.
What?
You know, I got to drop my subscription, man. If you just gonna overtly lie to my face like that, man, there's no need for me to read that kind of crap anymore. I mean, come on.
I hear you.
Are you telling me that these people really say there is no evidence?
Yeah.
Where are they looking? What are they looking at?
Hey, man, I think what you need to do is not look at what they're looking at. Look at who's paid them. We just had Paramount buy Warner Brothers, right? Which means they're not going to own CNN, right? We've also had them buy up CBS, which is completely discredited the investigative landmark show 60 Minutes. Remember they tried to sit on the show a few weeks back about the Trump involvement in Epstein?
Yeah.
Well, now you're going to have CNN doing that type of things, and you're already seeing it with the big newspapers. Washington Post got rid of all of their liberal columnists. I mean, people who are in the Journalism Hall of Fame, like Gene Robinson and others, they're gone.
Yeah. So
I think that now is a time you have to be very circumspect about where you get your information from and who you trust. And if it's a old landmark, formerly trusted form of journalism, side-eyed a little bit. I'll give you one last example. I promise I'm going to shut up after this because I said I was going to shut up before. Saturday morning, MS Now, formerly MSNBC, has this roundtable out there, and the great Rachel Maddow, somebody I've always enjoyed listening to, she comes out there. This woman has a Rhodes Scholar, right? She's a Rhodes Scholar, which, you know, Cecil Rhodes was a mass murderer and a racist, but, you know, I guess Rhodes Scholarship has some kind of cachet in terms of intellectual credentials. She's up here justifying the resistance to the war because of what this country did and Iran did and Israel misunderstood and things like this. And not one time did she mention Netanyahu. Not one time did she mention how Netanyahu and Trump have been collaborating on this. And I know she knows.
I'm disappointed.
I know, man. I know. There's been so many times lately, Patrick, I'm reading some, I'm like, I'll be damned.
Yeah.
You know, wait a minute, man. I've been reading this paper longer than you've been a columnist on this paper, and I know better because of what I read here decades ago. And you're going to come lie to my face?
Yeah.
And that's what's going on now. Rachel Maddow.
I cannot
I'll be interested.
believe
I'm going
it.
to watch her tonight. I'll be really interested to see if she
believe
makes
it.
the nexus between Netanyahu, the Epstein files, Trump, and this whole leveraging of these people to participate in his wet dream, which is to take down Iran. Because if you look at the Zionist I guess you'd say principle. Remember how they used to get real upset when people say from the river to the sea?
Yeah.
Because Palestinians started saying from the river to the sea, Palestine must be free. Well, the original version of from the river to the sea was by the Zionists. And they were talking about from the river Nile, Africa, all the way over to Iran, to the Tigris and Euphrates. That's all of the Middle East, which includes United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Jordan, Lebanon,
Some people.
Syria, Iran, Iraq, on and on and on and on. That's what they have their eye on. Because if you look at Israel, man, Israel's a tiny little country bereft of any natural resources. They have to treat the water because they pump it out of the ocean. They have nothing there other than this myth that they built their culture along. But they do see to their east. There's plenty of great natural resources.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Now you
There's
understand.
rare minerals, there's oil, there's a lot of things they'd like to have. Only thing is they got these pesky Arabs, these inferior goyim taking up the space, and we need to get rid of them. And Trump's dumbass, for the price of some blackmail, you know, and some underage little girl, he'll go along with it.
Oh, yeah.
And he's the first president who gave Satan Yahoo unfettered permission to go ahead and do what you do over there in Iran.
Yeah, and right now, man, they're supposed to be, you know, calm down and everything, and they're killing Palestinian every day.
Well, it was either Saturday afternoon or Sunday morning. It was announced that a girls' school was hit with
Yes.
a rocket in Iran, right?
Yeah.
81 dead little girls. It wasn't one school. They hit 2 little girls' schools.
Yeah.
2.
Yeah.
So the total death rate from just those 2 schools alone is somewhere approaching 140 people. Meanwhile, you had 8 little Jewish girls who died as a result of incoming Iranian missiles, and that's a tragedy. Children that young have to lose their life for this madness. But what do we hear about? We heard about the one school. We didn't hear about the second school.
No.
But man, we couldn't turn on the radio without hearing about those 8 little girls in Israel who lost their life. Now, they hit this school, and they want to tell you it's an accident. They hit 2 schools. I'm saying, now that's a pattern, homie.
Yes.
That's like you telling people to go to the hospitals to take shelter, and then you bomb
Then
the
you
hospital.
bomb the
Yeah,
hospital.
that's what
And
they
then you
do.
say, well, there were a Mossad in the basement of the hospital.
Yeah.
And then you find out there's no basement to the
Yeah.
hospital.
But
The
that-
lying never ends, man.
Yeah, they do. That happens every week,
Lionels.
man. Every week, there's so many they didn't kill. Oh, they said, oh, he did this, and we had some. They had some. I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
what?
But
You know?
The,
Go
the
ahead, Doc.
amazing thing is, people who should know better. Now, I say should know, because they don't act like people who do know better. Some of these people who should know better are getting out there, spilling out all the same crocodile tail thing, like Trump and his people. And people who supposedly have some common sense are still buying it and spreading it. And then you wonder now why some people, especially young people, don't want to listen to what you have to say, because in their ears it's trash. And I,
don't know
say
if
it
you noticed
nicely.
it, though, there seems to be a bright line in terms of right-wing GOP electoral support as to the ones who are maintaining, it's just we're trying to get rid of a terrorist organization and promote democracy in Iran. You still have those liars, the Rick Rubin.
Did you see your old
on
buddy?
On the other hand, you got a whole lot of young suckers. Those podcast bros, the Joe Rogans and all these dummies who don't know their history, and we're all in for Trump because Trump's going to get us out of the Middle East. Trump's going to stop all these wars, these endless wars.
He said he stopped 8.
Yeah, Trump's going to do something about what's going on over there. Keep our tax dollars here. And now they're sitting back here saying, wait a minute. I thought the deep state was Hillary Clinton. I thought this pedophile ring was the Democrats. I thought you said you were going to end the endless war. And Trump says to them, nothing. I don't have to justify it.
Well,
'Cause I got what I want now.
Well, he was the one who said when Obama was running the second time that he would get us in a war and everything so he could be elected.
Yeah, he absolutely did.
Yeah.
He said that Barack Obama wasn't smart enough or articulate enough
Right.
to negotiate a peace deal with Iran.
Yeah.
That's damn near word for word quote.
Yeah.
Of all people who wants to talk about somebody not being articulate or smart, you got Agent Dummy over here and one of the most intellectual powerhouses of the 21st century over there, and the dummies called the intellect slow.
Yeah.
Ain't that something, man?
Well,
Yeah.
it's the same thing they're calling our girl out of Texas.
Yeah.
They're calling her low IQ.
They call you low IQ. They call them mob low.
I'm
They
low.
call me-
I'm low.
Hey, come
You
on,
know,
man.
I'm not boasting that, but I'm low IQ. In
However
their
you
books.
measure, you walk
But
in the
I know
room.
I'm way ahead of him.
When you walk in the room, your black ass low IQ.
You low IQ.
That's my point.
But you talk there.
I bet you can spell IQ. I don't know Trump did.
It took the 47th president, a fighter who always puts America first, to finally draw the line after 47 years of Iranian belligerence. It took Trump. All the others talk about it, but it took Trump to put an end to it.
You know what's so ironic about that?
Go ahead.
Iran historically is Persia. During the ancient time when
Persian Empire,
Alexander the Greek and Philip of Macedonia and even before Greece became a solidified nation, where just city states like Athens and Sparta, etc. Persia was a nation and a power. They traded with Carthage of North Africa. That's a long ways, and they were a wealthy powerhouse nation. Okay. Until they became known as Iran, they had this long history, right? And you've got those same people now who call themselves Iran. Do you know not one time has Iran ever bombed another nation first?
Right.
They've never invaded another nation. They've never threatened another nation.
Nope.
And then you want to try to turn them into some type of arbiter of terrorism. What's not, because they're affiliated with Hezbollah and other terrorist organizations. Well, tell me what you would do when you see your cousins or your friends being murdered and tortured and raped by a nation, having their property taken from them. Right? What would you do? Just sit back and say, there's nothing I could do?
That's what they would like you to say.
But yeah, that's what they'd like you to say, but that's the argument we're given for calling Iran a some type of outlier and some kind of rogue nation and somebody that's a threat to us. I mean, come on.
It's a threat. What kind of threat? Well, Donald Trump said that the Americans are knocking the crap out of them. And the big wave is yet to come. He thought it was going to be a couple of days. But he's begging for a ceasefire. And they said, no, we are not talking to you.
Not this time. Paget, what happened last summer? What happened last summer?
It supposedly knocked out all the equipment and all the plans for nuclear energy and all of that. Nuclear bombs.
Yeah, that was last summer, right?
Yeah, June.
But look at what happened tactically.
Yeah.
Iran started sending over waves of cheap missiles into Israel and into its Uncle Tom allies, and they spent up the Iron Dome protection. All these surface-to-air missiles which interrupt incoming missiles that they call their Iron Dome. And then once that was depleted, they started laying some hypersonic missiles on them. Next thing you know, you see Israelis acting as refugees trying to seek refuge in Turkey and Spain and France. Spain, by the way, told the United States they weren't involved. You can't bring our ships here. But to keep on going, you saw this thing going on where all of a sudden Israel's looking very vulnerable. Well, the same exact thing is happening now, only this time it's been estimated they've got 80,000 missiles. Just for a point of comparison, in this entire 4-year span of the Ukraine-Russia war, in those 4 years, Ukraine has sent up 50,000 missiles, and they've kept Russia on their heels. As a matter of fact, by a lot of estimations, Russia is losing that war. So now you're looking at a country that has 80,000 missiles, hasn't sent up the good stuff yet, and they've also got these isolated individual places where they produce these missiles. And say you have 500 of them, and they produce 5 a day, and they do this as long as they need to. They almost have an inexhaustible supply of these missiles. Meanwhile, the United States is running low on munitions, so they say. Israel is running low on their Iron Dome missiles. And when Iraq starts hitting them with the heavy stuff, and they start hitting Riyadh, and they start hitting Jordan, and they start hitting United Arab Emirates and Qatar, and all these other Arab nations, which are being leveraged into fighting against Iran. And keep in mind, these are Arabs versus Persians. There's no historic love loss here. I think Iran is 60% Persian. The rest is different ethnic groups, small minority of Arabs and other Kurds, other groups like that. But Iran is in a position where, they may not have the combined strength of the United States and Israel. There's no doubt about that. But they're strong enough to hang in and do a hell of a lot of damage until such time as they decide they're stop.
Not quitting.
No, they're not going. And that's another thing, Patrick. They're not going to quit this time. Last time they said, okay, we're going to sit down and negotiate. And they sat down and negotiate. And what did Israel and the United States do? Replenish. Came back 6 months later. And even Trump said so. He said, I'm not going to accept anything this time. Like 6 months ago, you had a chance. Yeah, I played.
Yeah.
Right? Did
But then what did he do?
Yeah.
with that time.
Yeah.
He made a mess again.
Of
Yeah.
course he does.
And even
Literally and
this
figuratively.
war, the claim is that Israel was planning to make preemptive strikes. But then you're hearing one thing out of them saying this. Then you hear on the other side, same government, well, Israel was not going to strike. And it's like, which is it?
Well, that's what they do all the time.
But you see, the thing is, American government with Donald J. Trump cannot get it right because the man is such a liar that you see, a liar must have a good memory.
Impeccable memory.
Yes, because if you don't, you're going to be telling one thing different on the same subject instead of keeping one straight lie. And that is his problem here because he is saying, and his people went out and went on telly and said, well, they were not doing any planning to strike us. As a matter of fact, they don't have the equipment to do anything. It's going to be some years yet before they can really beat it. Talking about intercontinental missiles, ballistic missiles, they're claiming that Israel have all of these, not Israel, Iran have all of these to come at America. But then they turn back and say, well, Iran doesn't have anything that can reach America now, and it's going to be a long time before it can. So what is it?
I know one thing they have. They've got hypersonic missiles.
And they got willpower.
Well, technically, though, they've got missiles that'll reach anywhere in the Middle East in 10 minutes.
But let me ask you a question.
And when they get there, the Iron Dome defense doesn't work against those.
No.
And all those aircraft carriers and battleships we have out in the Persian Gulf, they're vulnerable. There's nothing they could do if one of those came at
Trump
them.
is boasting that he
And they're
sank
waiting
their
on the
ships.
time, and they're waiting on the time and place where they say, okay, we got to lay
That
hands
is the
on these dudes.
difference.
Yeah, and when that happens, when a battleship goes down and 180, 250 U.S. Navy soldiers are dead, and for no apparent reason, we've already lost 4 that were shot down by friendly fire.
Yep.
Yeah, friendly fire.
Yeah.
What's going to happen then, man? Because you can't justify this.
No.
And you've already got 65-70% of the American public is against this war.
Oh, yeah.
That means about half of the Republicans are against this thing.
Yeah. Yes.
So yeah, man, it may come to the point where we finally see the tipping point where people say, you know what, Satan Yahoo is an adjudicated war criminal, not accused.
Yeah.
He's just waiting sentencing.
Yeah.
We've got an adjudicated rapist and criminal.
Yeah.
Who stole from a cancer charity and raped little girls. And it may come to a point where people say, you know, enough of these clowns.
Well,
and enough of the people that have been blackmailed them, like Paget's Prince Andrew and some of these other clowns that you're seeing, like Bill Gates. And you could go on and on with these guys who took pleasure in raping and torturing and perhaps even engaging in cannibalism against these babies.
Yeah.
It's coming to a point
That
now
has
where
been
people,
alleged.
It's in the files.
Yeah.
It's damn sure in the files. I've read them with my own eyes.
Yeah.
So it's going to come to a point, man, where people are going to say, you know, enough of this. All y'all got to go. It's time for some real justice.
Well, you know, we'll have to see. Because right now, you know, a lot of people are into, they did it to Iran. And it's like, you know, we'll have to wait to see.
Ahmad,
You know,
the waiting may not be too long because Iran is systematically striking. They hit those bases where the Americans are.
Yeah.
They are moving in an order.
Yeah.
Trump is boasting that he sunk, 9 of the ships. And they're floating at the bottom of the sea.
That's what he said. That's exactly what he said. Floating at the bottom.
But then, what they don't know, patience is always a virtue.
Yeah.
You came out with all your hot-headedness. Oh, this is just the beginning, the big stuff coming. But when your big stuff is done, I have all of mine still, and you don't have any defense against them. And you know what? that Trump is such a coward, well, bullies are usually cowards, and he thinks he's the biggest bully. He is going in there because they refuse to accept his terms. I don't want your terms, so, well, I'm coming to hit you.
You know what's ironic about that? You had a perfectly good treaty.
Yes, and he boasts about ripping it up.
About President Obama, which controlled their nuclear ambitions. And had routine inspections,
and they were doing
everything
well.
is going according to plan. And the first thing Adolf Hitler does is rip it up because he didn't write it.
Yeah.
And now the fool is looking to get a deal in place, which is similar to the one he ripped up, so he can take credit for it.
Yeah.
And that's how narcissistic and foolish this man is. So I'm happy to say that Iraq ain't backing out. And you know, one other thing Iraq has that most of the rest of the world is well aware of, which is why a lot of the European allies said
they're not messing with you.
Like Canada gave some tepid approval, and I think Britain did, but Spain said, "Nah, man, you can't bring your ships here."
No, Britain said you can't bring them.
A bunch of them did. The one thing they need to be aware of is China has Iran's back like vertebrae. Why? Because they are China's supplier of oil and natural gas. That's their biggest customer.
Yeah.
And that's China's biggest supplier. And you think they're going to say, wait a minute, man, now you knocked off Venezuela, which was selling us was selling us oil, and you're bullying Cuba for no other reason than you can. And now you're going to take away our last? Nah, player, it ain't going that way. And when that happens, we're gonna see how long how low they hang in, right?
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
Because you so tough.
They're talking
because that's a
about
real ally.
Oh, yes.
And they got everything we got.
Yeah.
And they got a 1 billion man army.
That's it.
You know, so
on top of that,
step carefully, baby.
They have this weapon that nobody could stop. And it takes a few minutes to reach any place in America.
Yeah. It's a version of the hypersonic missile that they gave access to North Korea and Iran and some of their proxies. That's why the strategy is so interesting. Iran's sending out these cheap drones and these missiles, these low-velocity missiles, and those are breaking through. Wait till they start shooting the hypersonic missiles that they have, and they've got a lot of those. There's not a U.S. base in the Middle East that's safe. There's not a ship anywhere floating in the Middle East.
And don't be surprised if you start getting places here getting hit.
In the continental
in this
US?
country, yes.
Hey, man, if that happens, it's World War III, which is a possibility. That's why people have been saying we got to tread lightly over there, man. Because if they don't have a nuclear weapon, their boy does. And if they do have one, and you're threatening them with the end of their existence, they might be more than happy to say we ain't gonna be the only one.
Yeah.
We will all go down.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. All
Very
right.
dangerous times.
All right, man. That's it for
Perilous times ahead.
it for tonight. But join us again next week for more Street Talk. My name is Ahmad Shakaraki, and we'll catch you later. Peace.
Anybody make you think that God chose America as his divine messianic force to be a sort of policeman of the whole world? Yes. God has a way of standing before the nations with judgment, and it seems that I can hear God saying to America, you are too arrogant. If you don't change your ways, I will rise up and break the backbone of your power, and I'll place it in the hands of a nation that doesn't even know my name. Be still and know that I'm God.